Good morning. And happy Palm Sunday. There was a lot going on that day when Jesus rode into Jerusalem. Mostly joy, praise, expectation, but also an undercurrent of instability of those who had power and those who had needs and unexpected questions. So we have, if you could imagine being there on the first Palm Sunday, you can imagine that there was an electricity. There was a charge to that first Palm Sunday. Now, some kinds of instability are wonderful. You might be shaking your head. What does that mean? With explosives like dynamite, nitroglycerin, atomic energy, the gasoline that you put into your car. These are all very charged, unstable atoms and electrical potential. And all these things that I just listed create things that happen that make our life easier and create what we do in this busy world. Create the possibility to move fast in a car, to even move in a car. The Proton Center at Beaumont helps people with cancer because of these kinds of electrically charged atomic reactions. So we have a kind of instability in the natural world that is extremely wonderful and positive. And they're unstable. And they're human-made. And then we have a kind of instability that is tragic and destructive, like the civil unrest and violence of prejudice, like war. That's instability. Like police brutality or family systems with too much violence. And again, this instability is human-made. All of it is unstable, and it's all human-made. And all of these examples come from instability of the human will. That's a big statement. And if you're not awake yet, it may not go in. All of these examples of unstable elements and unstable civil unrest and violence all come from instability of the human will. That's why we ask in the Lord's Prayer, "Thy will be done." Because our will is pretty strong, isn't it? Can I get an amen?
I've always wanted to do that.
Amen.
Okay. Little moment there, pretty heavy. So it seems to be that this incredible instability in atomic elements, in lightning, in our civil unrest, in our violence, in our family systems, and all of this instability seems to be a part of the design of existence. That's quite a setup, that it's supposed to be that we're unstable. So don't feel too bad if you feel unstable today. Anybody feel unstable? It's a part of the design of existence at the elemental level, at the social and individual level, at the family level. Instability is a part of the design. And that means, get ready, it's coming. Again. And again. And again. And it doesn't mean you're wrong or evil or cursed or damned. It doesn't mean that. That instability at the molecular level and at every other level of existence is a part of the design. How do we relate to that today? One way, anybody have mood swings? Especially during that time? Yeah, no. No. Mood swings, unchecked. Marriage fights, anybody have a fight in their marriage? No. No. We had a doozy this week, actually. Yeah. Arguments in marriage, breakups in marriage.
Workplace situations.
Yes, work
Yes.
situations. Sometimes we're so volatile and unstable that we'll say the meanest thing to our closest friend. Oh my gosh. Yes. We say cruel things even to colleagues and to people that we trust and respect, and it just comes out and you're just thinking, oh, what did I just say? We're unstable. And that is in the design. You're not evil. You're not cursed. You don't deserve it. It's a part of how we're made. It's electric. Things happen when there's clashes and collisions inside and around us. This is how new life comes. This is how the faith journey works. If you've learned anything in your faith journey, you're not normal. None of us have the same normal faith journey. We all go through doubts and questions and fears and joys and victories in our own time and in our own way, and they are often a result of these collisions inside. These elemental, basic questions and fears bump up against the love of God. And this is why we're created in this way, is that we have choices when the collisions happen. We have choices. Sometimes a very unstable official in government will make a hasty choice. That's an unstable moment for that official. Sometimes a police officer who's filled with PTSD will shoot somebody who's innocent. And there's instability in that person in that moment. Sometimes we'll be on a really healthy diet regimen and then crash with a whole thing of chocolate ice cream.
But loving it.
Yeah. There's just this up and down, this instability that's a part of it. So what are we to do? We're definitely keeping God busy, aren't we? God is not bored. What are we to do? Well, on this Palm Sunday, I have a homework assignment for you. Now, our medical students, I know you have a lot of homework. So just take this in a quiet moment if it works. What are we to do with this instability that is in, it's the design of how we are to live. We are to experience moments where everything seems upside down and we make the wrong choice. And I'll share with you my answer. My answer is that you pause. When your will is coming at you and moving like a fast-moving train, can you feel the energy of a fast-moving train and how that feels? That is the human will. We want what we want and get out of the way, right? Mm-hmm. The best thing to do, and I invite you as your homework this week, would be to try this. Right when you want what you want, when you want it, take a pause and step back. Don't talk, just be. And this is the key. It is as simple and as difficult as digging a ditch. Anybody here dig a ditch?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. Digging a ditch is really hard. And imagine digging on hard ground. The hardest ground you can imagine that you can get through. And you're digging. What's that? Oh, somebody said something. You're digging a ditch.
I said frozen.
Yeah, frozen. Perfect. Imagine, that's as hard as this is as hard as frozen ground. Thank you, Gerard. So you're digging on frozen ground and you have to dig a big ditch. It's simple, you know what you must do, but boy is it hard. When you're in the middle of wanting what you want, thinking you're right, and you want it at that time, and no one else is right, and you want it, step back. It is as hard as digging on frozen ground. But it is as powerful. It's unleashing. It doesn't feel like it because it's the opposite of what you want to do. What you want to do is do what you want to do. I could make a little, I could make a song out of that. What you want to do is do what you want to do. Kids, we need to do this. Okay, well, that's it. What I want to do is what I want to do. What you do? That's what I want to do. I want to do it now. That's fun. I think I know how rap happens. What you do? It like it takes your whole being, you know.
Renee the rapper.
So, you know, you want to do what you want to do, and it's so hard to just stop and be quiet. And that is the task. That's the homework. No matter where you are, I don't mind. I don't mind. You might even just do it to yourself. Renee, stop talking to yourself. You know, you catch yourself in a negative thought. You catch yourself thinking something negative about someone else, and you have all the reasons in the world to judge this other person. Stop. Pull away. It unleashes the power of God to move, because it gives God space to shift you. Because a lot of times prayers are shifting us. You know, definitely, I just see blessings just at an infinite level. Every time you pray with me on Sundays, I have this visual in my mind of infinite blessings, like sparks that just, whew. I don't know if you ever have images of when we pray, but when we're all praying together, I see these divine sparks that just go out and land. And so, by pausing and stopping, you're unleashing God's ability to move differently for you. God has all these infinite ways to reach you, but really abides by the highest law of heaven. According to Emanuel Swedenborg, I don't know what your personal theology is, but Swedenborg says the highest law of heaven and earth is freedom. So God cannot force you to love God. God can't force you, but God can do everything else to try to get you to the side of love. And so if we can just pause and stop, God can move differently and shift us and bless and send sparks out to others to be blessed. And that's why this is such a powerful thing. You know, Jesus, before Pontius Pilate, he was silent. He was standing before the earthly king as a divine king. And he didn't force him to believe. He didn't even use a word. He stood silently in front of Pontius Pilate. And the one who kept talking and taking up space and judging was the earthly king. The divine itself, being itself, was standing before him silent. And that creates something. And it's a paradox. Because everything that's earthly in us wants to be loud, to be heard, to be right, and to take up space. And the divine is saying, pull away and let me move. And so, on the first Palm Sunday, I wonder how it might have been different. I wonder if there were more people who would have just, instead of being loud and glad and just jumping into whatever everybody else was doing, the crowd think, if more people would have just stopped and really just noticed who he was. Would it be different? Would history be different? And the encouraging statement today for you and me is that we can write our own history and make a change. So it's never too late. In this moment and in the moments that come next, the most powerful thing you can do, and this is Palm Sunday, and remember this day, the most powerful, when everything seems to be unstable, at the molecular level or the physical level or in your family or in your own mind, you feel unstable. Give God space and be quiet. Stop talking, stop making action, and notice where He leads you. Notice what the moment presents to you, because I guarantee you it won't be what your ego or what your loud self will want.
Probably the opposite.
It's probably the opposite. And what and that's exactly right. And oftentimes eternity and divine answers come not in the way we expect. So by pausing, by not talking, by noticing and listening and creating a space for the divine to move, that paradoxically unleashes the power of God in your life. It makes sense and it doesn't make sense, but it mostly makes sense. By faith, it makes sense. That's right. Thank you. That's a perfect way to close this message. Oftentimes, our faith leads us to just trust. We don't know how or when God will move, how we will get healed, how we will feel peace. But we wait by faith, and we trust, and we listen. And God is unleashed.